We all have to face death someday. But what if you had to face it now? What if it was someone you love? You'd hope that there's a second chance. I'm Paul Walker. Every day, many people are diagnosed with a fatal illness. Fortunately for some, there is hope. Through a life-saving transplant, doctors can take healthy organs and tissue from one person and transfer them to another. The heroic act of the donor will give life back to those on the brink of death. This program will introduce you to some of these people.
I had an enlarged heart and they didn't know why. They put me on the waiting list because my heart was performing at 10%. And so they gave me a year to live. I guess as a mother, that was the hardest thing for me, was to go home that night and tell that I'm dying.
I never expected to think that at that age I was going to lose my mom. It was devastating to think that I could lose her.
My blood is O positive, and so I'm a universal donor, but I can only receive an O positive organ. And in the beginning, they told me that the possibility of me getting one was very rare.
I understood that, yeah, they had to cut my mom open and take out her heart and put a new one in, but it wasn't that simple.
I thought that I wasn't going to get a heart transplant and that I was going to die.
The scariest part was not knowing how long we had, or, just not knowing.
I'm a professional snowboarder. I've been snowboarding for about 22 years now. I was a part of the first ever United States snowboard team in 1998 in Nagano, Japan. I was diagnosed in the early 90s with a condition called PSC, primary sclerosing cholangitis, a very rare liver disease. But I was fortunate that I was able to still live a pretty healthy and active lifestyle. In the spring of 2000, actually, things took a turn for the worse. The doctors were telling me that someday I was going to need a liver transplant. Are you kidding me? Are you sure you have the right person? I feel great. I couldn't need a liver transplant. I would soon learn that that wasn't the case, that they were right. And in the spring of 2000, I could tell I was in real trouble.
I've done over 300 films, the TV things. I've done 46 albums. I had no idea I'd done that many. And I played Las Vegas for 35 years running. I started getting sicker and sicker and still kept trying to work. And being on the road was kind of hard, and so finally, when I really did get so sick, I went back to the Mayo, and they told me I just had, a very short time to live. I had liver failure. So I got in line, with everyone else, and waited for an organ.
I spent a long time in the Marine Corps. Did a lot of stuff with special operations. There were guys that got hurt on the same mission that are in wheelchairs. There are guys that are in coffins. And it made me appreciate every day a great deal more. And maybe that's what's played a factor in this. I plan to donate a kidney anonymously. I kind of had a second chance, and so maybe this is an opportunity to give someone else one as well.
T is a little girl that doesn't seem sick, but unfortunately is, and is waiting to have a heart transplant for the 3rd time. Early on, I would think that her heart rate was fast.
It was like, and I was so little that it was too much.
By the time the 3rd procedure, she had already had cardiomyopathy.
Myopathy.
And immediately he had called UCLA and they air-backed her there to get her on the list for the first time. We were very fortunate. Within 6 to 7 months, it was 7 months, they called and there was an organ ready for her. I just felt like we'd gone through something that, wow, we're so lucky, and we did it and it's done. But then, she started getting sick again.
My heart was rejecting, and it had my arteries were failing, so I passed out a couple of times in the playground.
A month later, she passed that again, and then they went in and they said, oh, it's a lot more serious. So then they knew she had to transplant. They're reluctant to give you a time frame. First it was 7 months. We get into the hospital, it's 3 months. Within 6 hours, they came to me and they go, you know, it's 1 month. We have to get something within a month.
My name is Ryan Kitamura. I'm 14 years old. I like to go on the computer a lot. I get busted because I spent too long on it. I had many bruises all over my body. I had these red dots coming out too, and I was tired and I had terrible jaw pain.
I came home and my mom was crying, and that was like the day she decided to take Ryan to the doctor to see what all the bruises were, and she had told me that it was leukemia.
The first thing I said was, can I die? And he said, yes, there's a possibility.
They believed that the chemotherapy treatment would be all that he needed.
I had 6 months of chemotherapy.
They believe that everything has worked.
We thought we got rid of it all.
When it did come back this past year, nobody expected it.
I was just like, okay, what is going on? Why is this happening again?
The chances of Ryan surviving just with chemotherapy is not good.
They said, well, I guess this time, since we know your bone marrow isn't going to get rid of it all, you have to get a bone marrow transplant.
And at that time, we entered the bone marrow registry. Time seems to go so slow when you're trying to find a match or some kind of word from the registry that it just seemed like it's forever, you know, and you feel that you have to do something, and this is the only thing that you can do is to unfortunately vent at the people that are trying to help you. Why isn't it important to you? Why maybe next week or we still don't know, Why don't you try harder? If it was your child, would you have tried harder?
Many people in need of a transplant wait a long time not knowing if they'll ever even receive one. In the United States alone, 17 people die every day waiting for that second chance. Many myths are associated with organ donation. You probably heard of some of them.
I don't want to donate my organs because I heard if I was in an accident that they wouldn't take as good a care of me.
Find out the truth when we return.
If I'm an organ donor, will I get the same medical treatment?
We care for everyone as well as we possibly can. We don't discriminate, and we certainly wouldn't give an organ donor lesser care than we do anyone else.
Whether or not a person chooses to be an organ donor has absolutely zero impact on the care they receive when they come into a hospital as a trauma or any other medical condition.
Hey, Brett.
Hi. Nice to finally meet you.
When I first met him, I thought that he was very determined about wanting to donate his kidney to help someone.
I told my mom, and she's real upset.
I would prefer that he didn't do it.
Oh, she calls me twice a day trying to talk me out of it.
Once Brett has his mind made up, you don't really talk him out of things.
She finally accepted, you know, that I'm far more stubborn than she is. Not that I don't appreciate her concern, but she doesn't completely understand why I'm doing this.
I don't think Brett's doing it because he's looking for a pat on the back or recognition, or Brett's just being Brett.
He had his reasons for wanting to go through this major operation to help a complete stranger.
The fact that, you know, there's the need, A, and B, that I want to create something more positive in my life.
There are people who are very altruistic and they want to help others who are not as fortunate as they are.
If nothing else, it makes them think about giving, not necessarily an organ or something this critical, but we all have something we can give.
I'm proud of him for everything that he is, and this even doubled how I feel about his unselfishness.
The kidney worked almost immediately in the recipient following the surgery.
You know, now she can get a job and help support her family. It's great. It's great.
Stephen was the youngest of 4 children, and you try to think of bad things about him and you can't. He had this knack of buying gifts. He would try to fit the gift to the person. If he couldn't find a gift that he was really satisfied with, he would even make his own. For me, he was a gift, and that's how I look at it now, that he was my personal gift for 28 years.
After midnight on Mother's Day, Stephen's parents received a phone call from his friend.
I was told that he had a massive concussion from the fall that he had, and that he wasn't looking very good. And then about an hour later, the doctor notified me that he was brain dead. Someone talked to me about donating Stephen's organ, and we thought Stephen would probably have wanted to do that.
Frank and I finally decided that yes, we would like to donate his organs.
Stephen's organs will now be used to save the lives of several people. Meanwhile, with her heart barely beating, Yolanda knows that her time is growing short.
I know I was dying, and I may have had like 2 weeks left.
I had a message thing on my cell phone, and I got it, and I was like, Alika, I said, hey, that's my mom. They said they have a donor match, and she's going to the hospital now.
It was Mother's Day. I was getting ready for church that morning. So when I got the call before we left for church, I really thought it was just a dream to me.
And that was my birthday. We stayed at the hospital for my 25th birthday.
As a mother of 3, I felt so guilty because Stephen is my donor. He was their youngest son. He was 28 years old. And I had the hardest time accepting that he had to die to give me life. There's 4 of us alive today. Myself, I have his heart. Salita and Tony have his kidneys, and his liver went to California. Salita, Tony, and I and our families have met Stephen's family.
I remember Tony's son, Glenn. I remember his hug because he hugged me so tight I felt like I couldn't breathe, but I felt this is his gratitude. He's showing me how much it means to him.
The first thing his mom did was put her head on my chest to hear Stephen's heartbeat.
It didn't hit me as far as what went on for my mom until I got to hug Mrs. Guinoza. I realized that she had made the decision to give her son's heart to my mom.
When Stephen first died, I felt like I would give anything to get him back. Even if he would come back just in a vegetable state, I want him with me. And when you think about it, that is so selfish. And now if somebody asks me, do you want him back at all costs? I told Frank, I can't say that anymore because I've met Yolanda and Celita and Tony, and it's not a matter of, what I want anymore. It's a total picture, and it's different.
I don't think my religion supports organ donation.
Stick around to learn the truth.
Will my religion support organ donation?
From the Christian perspective, organ donation is something that is highly encouraged and supported.
From a Jewish perspective, it's truly a righteous deed, and to help save someone's life in this way is one of the highest commandments of our tradition.
Actor and musical performer Jim Nabors has been diagnosed with liver failure and is in critical need of a transplant.
It really got right down to the wire that I just had a few days left because I had lost 60 or 70 pounds in a month, and I was going pretty fast. Fortunately for me, and unfortunately for the donor, my life was extended. They try to get you back to doing whatever you were doing normally in your life, and fortunately that happened for me. I went right back to working exactly like I worked before. I was amazed that I could do it. I went back on the road and felt good about it too.
After world-class snowboarder Chris Klug is placed on the transplant waiting list because of a liver disease, his condition worsens.
My liver began to be so scarred up and so deteriorated that, in fact, it was shutting down, and it was time to get serious about upgrading me on the transplant waiting list to a more critical stage where I didn't have that long to live if I wasn't going to get a new liver. It's a pretty scary place to be. You're waiting, you're praying, you're hoping that you'll get a second chance, that you'll get that call, because you know that you can't last that much longer if you don't. Fortunately, I did get that call July 28th of 2000. The surgery worked perfectly. I was out of the surgery 6 hours later and had a miraculous recovery. Back on my snowboard just 7 weeks later. I won a World Cup 6 months after my transplant and was representing my sport and our country again a year and a half after my liver transplant, where I won a bronze medal in Park City. I felt like I was riding with a whole team on my snowboard, my transplant team, my donor family, all my friends and family, and maybe helped me, go a little extra fast there to achieve my goal and obtain that Olympic medal. It was one of the great thrills of my life.
I heard my family would have to pay the medical costs if I was to donate my organs.
See the truth in a moment.
Would my family have to pay for me to donate my organs?
If you become an organ donor, your family would not have to cover the cost. That's done by the organ procurement organizations.
After a long period of waiting for a bone marrow match to help save Ryan, his parents finally hear some good news.
I was notified by my wife. I had to make her repeat it again. I said, what? They finally could tell us something? They found Ryan a potential match that should be perfect for him.
I was really happy. When I heard, the first thing I thought of was, oh, I get to go back to school and see my friends again.
He loves his friends, and I guess to see him with his friends outside makes us feel really good that he's growing up again, and what everybody has done for us will all shine through his smiles and his whatever he does.
Going to college and helping people who has to go through what I had to go through.
And I'm really, really hoping that he could have kids, because he would be a great dad and he really wants to. And yeah, just for him to be healthy, that's like the only thing I want.
That's the one thing I really want to do. I want to resume back to my old normal life.
T is having some problems after her first heart transplant. The doctors have told her mother she has 1 month to live.
They're like, okay, now you need a heart transplant. So I was in the hospital that night, and the next morning I got a heart. The next morning,
We just like that. It was a young girl with, kind family that decided to kind of donate something for her. That's it. Wow, I usually don't cry. All of this year she's been sick and has missed most of school. And then January she was extremely ill. So we went in for a biopsy.
And then I just I don't know, something happened where my heart was too weak. So I died.
T's heart had stopped beating. The doctors tried to revive her 3 times with no success.
He actually didn't think he could do it. He goes, the third time I was thinking, oh no, if I can't get her back, I can't keep trying to get her back. And then the next thing he, shocked her again and her heart started up again. They came out and they go, it doesn't look good. We'd like you to basically say goodbye to her in case something else were to happen.
To increase T's chance for survival, she is put back on the waiting list for her 3rd heart transplant and has frequent medical checkups.
Just 3 weeks ago, they said she is not well. We've got to take her back to intensive care, and we just have to see if she'll come out of it. I was just what am I going to do? I don't even know. Even when I think she's okay, she's not okay.
You know how some people are scared of dying because they're like, oh, what if I lose everything I have here? And then when you look at it, it's not really, anything here isn't really that big of a deal,
I'd love for her to have those things that she wants, you know, go to college and share a life with somebody and have a family and see me be you know, although I'd love all that. Then I'd also love her to have, like, sort of, I don't know, peace, whatever that means for her.
Understanding that gift of life and receiving a second chance is a very, very difficult process. I still am forever in awe and forever humbled by the decision of my donor family.
It was funny, the very next day after the transplant, when my family came to see me, they were astounded. They said it's like somebody plugged me in and life came back to me.
You know, you make a difference in this world, and maybe if this is the only thing I ever do to make a difference, well, I think it's a pretty big one.
To the donors out there, having this second chance at life, having this gift of life has allowed me to see my 5 grandchildren being born, and I see my son getting married, and I actually got to see my youngest son walk down and graduate and fix his tie for his prom. And spending time with my grandkids is just, I mean, you know, it's endless. I wouldn't be here. And so for that, to the donor families, that's what makes our life possible, is by their precious gift and their decision. And it does work, because I'm here.
All I got is 2 hands and a prayer and a day and a night.
If you'd like to learn more about organ and tissue donation and transplantation, log on to the Second Chance website at secondchancelife.com.
I encourage everybody just to consider donation awareness and to share their decision with their family members and to have that conversation. A lot of people could be saved if others shared their decision.
2 hands and a prayer and a chant.